Flirties, the topic on the show today is fear. And it's going to be a solo one, just me and my cat here hanging out at Flirt headquarters, though. It'll just be me on the episode today. She doesn't have thumbs, so she can't hold a microphone. But I wanted to spend some more time talking about rejection in dating, and specifically here today about fear. If you haven't checked out the episode on rejection, on saying no, on ghosting, breakups, heartbreak with Sarah Rice, definitely recommend checking out that episode, and wanted to give you a standalone one today, really speaking to, I think, this core emotion, feeling, state of being experience that we all have when we're dating, and certainly throughout all areas of our life and our relationships and beyond. And that is this experience of fear, which can hold us back, which can keep us stuck, which can create this illusion of safety. This is a theme, that of fear, that has appeared on many episodes of Flirtations. And today we're going to be going into it, being with it. I've got some interesting things coming. I've got an original short story for you, another meditation, and some monologue. Yeah, that's coming too. So hold on to your hats, Flirty. Let's talk about fear.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, Flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, Flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt. Get out of your head and into the flirt.
All right, Flirty, let's get this episode going as we really get into fear here. And to open up the show, we're going to be talking about the 6 ways that fear shows up in your dating life. But don't be scared. No, I'm going to be here with you through it all. And the first way that fear shows up in your dating life, perhaps surprise, no surprise, as it's what we were talking about in the previous episode, is this fear of rejection. And this fear of rejection can show up in a couple ways. It might come in the form of self-rejection, where you're criticizing yourself, you're being hard on yourself. You have this antagonistic core belief that you're not good enough, you're hard to love. Maybe you learned this from your upbringing, from your childhood, from society. Somehow this belief became internalized and is now part of your dating story. Perhaps for me, the core belief here around this fear of rejection has always been my whole life, Benjamin, you ain't good enough, boo. Yes, my core belief here that really fuels this fear of rejection. And what if somebody sees that? What if they believe that, or I perceive that they believe that? What if their actions or behaviors confirm this fear that I have? Tough stuff. I know. We're going to get into some strategies in dealing with fear here later in the episode, but wanted to initially talk about the 6 ways that fear shows up in your dating life. First one being the fear of rejection, how it can come internally, and also certainly externally, where you fear putting yourself out there. You may hesitate to approach someone to flirt. You may fear not expressing yourself, for how the other person may receive that information, for how they may respond. Yeah, and this fear of rejection can lead certainly to missed opportunities, can prevent meaningful connections from forming, can also serve us in a way to keep us in our comfort zones, not putting ourselves out there, not taking a risk. Fear of rejection, big one. The second way fear shows up in your dating life is the fear of vulnerability. I think there's a lot of similarities and parallels here to the fear of rejection, where we can fear letting those walls down in a sense and allowing ourselves to develop those more intimate, more sincere, deeper connections that are really based around sharing information and getting to know one another in a way that allows us to feel truly seen, valued, understood. It's no longer about this performance aspect in a way where you're trying to be perceived in a certain way. You want to be seen in a certain way. You're maybe dating from this place of really wanting, needing, seeking external validation. That may be part of it here. And this fear of vulnerability, it's like we can develop it. Mm, it's tough. It's tough. Early in life, through our upbringing, through our family dynamics and our childhood, through our conditioning that we pick up in the societies and cultures we live in, somehow learning that expressing our true feelings, our true emotions isn't safe, right? That somehow that exposes us to be taken advantage of. I know for me, it's often been tied to this feeling of embarrassment in some ways. That if I really express myself and I really be vulnerable, it's like it's now, like I'm emotionally naked in a way. And there's a little bit of like, ooh, like what if I'm really seen for my true self in this like, oh, some things are coming up, some things are coming up. But the fear of vulnerability, another big way that fear shows up in our dating lives. The third fear here is the fear of abandonment, a big one, where you have this fear, this constant worry, stress, anxiety that the person you're dating will leave. And this may lead you to become overly dependent or codependent, may lead you to become clingy, coming from that place of attachment, of need, right? May lead you to overly rely on someone, really looking into all the signs and signals, just really being overly critical and overly analytical of a connection, of another person, of yourself, always making sure like you're checking the boxes that everything's good, that relief, that reassurance is there, your connection is strong, your relationship is good, this person isn't going anywhere. And the fear of abandonment here can really fuel a lot of anxiety in our dating lives, for sure. Fourth way that fear shows up in our dating lives is fear of the unknown. And this is right. Dating is not always a black and white process. A lot of dating happens in the gray as you're getting to know someone, perhaps brand new, you're gearing up for a first date. You just had a first date. This isn't someone you know super well yet, certainly in the totality of your entire life. I'm 38, right? And I've been on a first date, let's say I've known someone for a week, 2 weeks out of my whole life. Yeah, there's going to be some unknown elements here as you're figuring out how you feel about this person. You're looking to see how they show up for you. You're looking to see what can become of this connection. And here we are dating in the gray, in the space of ambiguity. And this is why knowing what you're looking for is for you so important. Type of relationship you desire, at the very least getting super curious about this, how you like to connect, how you like to form relationships, what type of partnership you're looking to have in your life with somebody, knowing the types of qualities and traits you look for in people you date, knowing what your standards are, your boundaries, your non negotiables, deal breakers, looking at past patterns, your past relationships, using all of these as clues in many ways to give you insight, using all of these things to give you data points so that you can move through your dating life with more clarity and confidence and begin to sort of dispel the unknown aspect of dating, take away some of the mystery a little bit. Yes, you're still going to be dating in the gray, but this fear of the unknown, we can at least give ourselves clarity, center ourselves in the dating process, know we get to have choice. And I hope some of these, yes, incorporating some of this into your mindset, into your overall dating strategy helps you move through perhaps that fear of the unknown a little bit more easily, easier. Yeah. Something like that. All right. Fifth way that fear shows up in your dating life is the fear of failure. And I know this has been a big one for me, and this has come up in a few episodes of Flirtations for sure, where it's now you're dating based on whether something is a success or a failure. You go into a flirt, and if it doesn't lead to this exact expectation, outcome, or result you want, then it's a failure. Right? Seeing things in these very black and white terms, worrying that a relationship or a new connection won't work out. You fear really being there, expressing yourself with vulnerability, coming back to that fear here as well, and just seeing things as yes or no, right? They're one way or the other. Things are either good or bad. You're seeing things in these very extreme dualities, and this fear of failure certainly presents itself in our dating lives. But the reality is, sometimes it's not going to work out. Sometimes there's going to be some hard moments and some heartbreaks. And this is part of dating, ultimately, is taking a risk with your heart. I know. It's possible that it doesn't work out, but it doesn't necessarily mean that a connection, a relationship was a complete failure. All right. The final fear, the sixth one, is a fear of intimacy. I think this ties to vulnerability as well. I think it ties to this fear of rejection, and this fear of intimacy is, I like to describe it as this fear of closeness in some ways, where intimacy could relate to physical closeness. As you start to explore physical flirting, physical touch, right? Maybe some physical connection and really being able to be close with somebody in that way, it could be a real fear there, and apprehension and anxiety. That may be part of your dating life. This fear of intimacy, letting someone into the ins and outs of your daily life as a connection starts to grow over time, like letting someone into your world, what you're going through, how you think, your habits, your behaviors, your views, your opinions, right? We're really starting to develop that intimate connection with someone, a connection based on closeness, where now you're starting to incorporate someone into your life as, if you're starting to date and you're one of your goals, or yes, you want a relationship and you're looking to develop connections long term, you want boyfriend, girlfriend, lifetime partner, marriage, certainly intimacy is going to be a big part of this process for you. So there we have it, the 6 ways that fear presents itself in your dating life. Quick recap: fear of rejection, fear of vulnerability, fear of abandonment, fear of the unknown, fear of failure, and fear of intimacy. Got another monologue segment coming up for you next about how we develop these fears and then what we can do about it. That's coming up next. All right, flirties, let's do this. How do we develop fear in the first place? Like, literally, why? Well, let's go back many, many years ago to the dawn of time. Just kidding. We're not going to go back that far. But the point I want to make here right away is that fear certainly plays a role in our life. It can be an instinctual response to help us move away from danger, to perceive things that may be harmful or hurtful. But the point I want to make here right at the top is to start to distinguish fear from anxiety, fear from worry, fear from uncertainty, and isolate and acknowledge and call out the fear for exactly what it is. So I hope the first part of this episode, starting to untangle the ways fear presents itself in our dating lives, will help you to identify what your sources of fear are, knowing that it's probable and more than okay that all of those fears may be present for you. So how do we develop fear? Well, I there can be many reasons why, but something that has helped me, and I hope it will help you too, is that the fears, now that we can separate them from something like an instinct, right? Something like intuition, even knowing if something is for us, meant for us, we're not feeling something. So acknowledging the fear for what it is and seeing it as a learned response, something that we have incorporated into our own personal beliefs, that has become a part of our story, that has become part of our lived experience, that we picked up somewhere in our lives, perhaps from childhood, perhaps from where we grew up, perhaps from media and television, from things we read. We can even incorporate experiences of characters and see ourselves in them and books and the like, different forms of media and literature, and pick up fears that way as well. But one thing that has helped me is seeing fear as really a learned experience, a learned belief that for a period of time has served a purpose. And I firmly believe that fear is, in many ways, a part of our lives to keep us safe. If that means staying in our comfort zones, if that means not taking a risk, sometimes we need to be in this space of self preservation just to survive, just to get by, just to keep going day in and day out, knowing that there's so much uncertainty in our lives and in the world. Sometimes this fear plays a true role in our lives of keeping us safe so that we can keep going and do what we need to do day in and day out. But at some point, fear, that learned experience, that learned story that we then incorporate into our being. It becomes a part of who we are, and we begin to live our life from this place of fear, all in an effort to keep us safe. But at what point does that safety or that desire to create safety, that need to pursue this illusion of safety, at what point does that hold us back? Does that keep us stuck? Does that keep us from growing and moving forward? And tying back to this one fear that we talked about a little bit earlier, this fear of abandonment, fear can also be an act of self abandonment, where it's not necessarily we're fearful of someone else leaving, but we also can abandon ourselves in this process, abandon our own true wants, needs, and desires, our own true purpose, our own true why, all in an effort to maintain this illusion, this picture of safety that is really rooted in fear. So that is, from my perspective, speaking somewhat generally about how fear works its way into our life, how we begin to develop these fears initially, and why. right? Like fear plays, like it's real. And it's been something that I have had to intently work through in every effort of my life to show up in the way that I am currently showing up, to be speaking to you now all over the world, broadcasting everywhere. Like it took me a minute to get this podcast started, to get this Flirtcast going, to quit my 9 to 5, which has been part of my story. Maybe you've seen some of that in my content and heard some of that on the podcast, or maybe this is your first episode ever. Yeah, I had a whole 9 to 5 before this, a whole career in city planning for over 10 years that I knew just wasn't for me. It was a part of my story, but it was not the end of my story. We were very much in those beginning chapters, and leaving my job, starting a new career in coaching, putting myself out there, showing up on social media, starting this podcast, working with clients, helping them in their dating lives with their flirting confidence. Oh my God, talk about the fear, going back to that core belief that I'm not good enough. But I had to acknowledge and recognize that fear for exactly what it was, get curious about where and when I picked this up. How did I learn this? How did I develop this belief? See it as this illusion of safety that was ultimately holding me back from moving forward in my life and living in alignment with how I want to show up in the world, who I want to be, how I want to connect, how I want to form relationships. Acknowledging the fear for what it is, and then starting to move through it, which is what I want to talk about here for a moment. I've got some practices coming up in this episode to help you begin to move through the fear. And what I want to share with you here is a lot of what I bring from my experience teaching yoga and what I bring into my classes, and that is being with it. What we resist persists. And I know sometimes being with that fear can create so much discomfort. It can bring up a lot of feelings and emotions. And so I don't want to scare you away from being with the fear, but I also want to acknowledge that it could be incredibly difficult. And so seeking support in the form of friends, people you can reach out to, therapists, coaches, teachers, practitioners, right? Seeking out those sources of support so that you don't have to do this alone. You don't have to be with the fear alone. That's going to be a huge, huge part of it. But being with it, being able to move through it so that you can grow beyond it, start to transform that fear into excitement, into momentum, into purpose. I'm a big believer that energy is neither created nor destroyed, but it can and will be transformed. And so the energy behind that fear, once you acknowledge it, recognize it, be with it, you can then transform it so that you're no longer resisting, pushing away that fear, trying to walk, move around it, bypass it, or staying in one place altogether, right? Not moving forward at all, maybe going through the motions, living life day to day as is. Things seem monotonous. You're going through your routines because it's maybe fear that's holding you back. Bringing some of the themes into this part of the conversation from the last segment: fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of vulnerability, fear of rejection, fear of intimacy, which could translate to intimately connecting with yourself, getting really honest with yourself so that you can begin to understand and develop a curiosity with the fear, work with it, be with it, so that you can move through it and then transform that energy to create this life that you want. You can create the partnerships and the relationships that you want and crave and desire to have in your life. You can create a deeper connection with yourself. And that is so much of what my mission as the flirt coach is about. It's all about the connection, y'all. The connections you're going to make out there flirting and dating, and also the connection with yourself. Our relationships are among the most important things we will have in our life. Certainly, your platonic relationships, your romantic relationships, and the relationship you will have and do have with yourself, the longest relationship you will have in your entire life. All right. I hope this was helpful. I've got some embodiment practices too coming up next, an original short story about fear, and a meditation to be with that fear. All right. I hope these next two practices will be very, very helpful. Stay tuned. Those coming up next. All right, Flirty, how we doing? How we feeling as we're really focusing on fear here in this episode, opening the show with the way fear presents itself in your dating lives and forming relationships, and then starting to be with that fear and get really curious about where it came from and the role it has most likely played in your life. All right, coming up next, two embodiment practices. As promised, the first one is a short story entitled Why the Bear Sleeps. Here's the story. Fear is one of those universal emotions that all living things experience, whether consciously or not. And certainly for us humanoids, fear can sometimes be what guides our decision-making process. And while fear can serve a purpose, fear can also hold us back or even make us question ourselves. So today, I want to explore fear, what it really is, what the role is it plays in each of our lives. And to do this, I wrote a story for you. One thing about me is I love creative writing and storytelling, always have. Even as a kid, I remember in fourth grade when we got to do creative writing and build our portfolio throughout the year and read our stories in class. That was always my most favorite part. And we didn't have computers back then, so everything was handwritten. My hand hurt a lot. But anyway, I digress. Back to this flirtation, all about fear. Well, I'll be introducing here one of the ways that we'll be exploring different topics, and that is through storytelling. So without further ado, here is the story of why the bear sleeps. The mornings had started to change as winter approached in Maine. A chilly wind blew in from the north, coating the forest floor in droplets of water that quickly froze to create a shiny carpet of frost. Each icy droplet clung to a mix of leaves and branches that had fallen from the towering trees overhead. In this beautiful forest, remaining vibrant with evergreen trees and illuminating rays of sun, was a bear. The bear lumbered about the forest, finding its home among the foliage, sunlight, and other forest animals. In this forest, the bear reigned supreme, climbing trees, spilling out into belly rolls, and keeping watch over its domain. Until one day, as the bear was foraging, it caught a glimpse of what appeared to be a much bigger bear. In reality, a thin sheet of ice had formed over a large rock, and this provided the bear with a mirror reflection of itself. Only the reflection the bear saw was much larger than itself. Fearful of the towering creature before it, the bear dashed at lightning speed through the forest, searching for a hiding place. Unable to find one suitable and protective enough, the bear used its fierce claws to dig into a nearby hillside. The bear clawed and dug at the hillside with all its might until a large enough hiding place was made. Then the bear entered this new space, pushed earth back into the open hillside, closing itself inside its new home. Now safely away from any danger, the bear took some deep breaths, started to calm down, and began to drift off to sleep. And there, the bear slept through the entirety of winter,
only emerging once spring had warmed the earth. Now feeling the warmth of the sun, the bear decided to bust through the earthen wall of its winter home and venture back out into the world. And to this day, the bear continues to spend winter in its hiding place or den, sleeping. And that is the story of why the bear sleeps. Now, I ask you, hearing this story, what are your initial thoughts? What do you think about the bear? What would you have done differently, if anything? Do you perhaps see any parallels between the bear and yourself? I ask you these questions to open up the conversation about fear and what fear really is, and present to you a story to see how things might have been different for the bear if it hadn't run in the first place or faced its fear, which for the bear was an illusion all along. And similarly, this is what fear likes to do in our own lives. Of course, while fear often feels so real, it's also influenced by many, many other factors, like our perception and how we see the world, by our stories and past experiences. I mean, I'm sure the bear was inclined to run for a reason, perhaps. Maybe it had had an encounter with a bigger bear at some other point in its life. And then, of course, there is our instinct. It's not exactly human nature to run towards fear or a giant bear before us. It's actually the opposite. Ultimately, though, when we can face our fears, no matter how hard that might be, we often find that the thing that scared us most wasn't nearly as bad as we thought it would be. Or, in the bear's case, the source of fear was completely made up. Lord, how many times have I made up scenarios and then allowed my own fear to talk myself out of things? My voice is going very high here, so you know. Let's just say it's a lot. Well, that will do it for this flirtation on fear. And I have probably left you with some thoughts, perhaps some questions, which is exactly part of this experiment. Learning and growing and evolving together one day, one flirtation at a time. All right. Thank you so much for being here. No matter when or where you are listening to this, I wish you a great rest of your day, wherever you are in the world, whatever time it may be, and sending you BFE, big flirt energy from my heart to yours, Flirty. All right. Happy flirting.
All right, Flirty, what do you think about that story of fear? What do you think about the bear? Do you relate to that bear? Do you resemble that bear? All good. I know I certainly have. I mean, I wrote it. I am the bear. Speaking from personal experience. Yeah, but we can be with this fear, acknowledge it for exactly what it is, and use this practice of self-awareness to then empower us forward to build confidence, to build resilience, to let go and move through and beyond the fear, which is exactly what we are going to be doing in what's coming next. I have got a body scan meditation for you. Yoga teacher Benjamin coming out in full force on this next segment of Flirtations. Lord knows if you are driving though, or if you're at work or something at the gym, oh my God, on the treadmill. Okay, the rest of the episode may not be for you, and that's okay. Save it for later. I want you to be safe. This is going to be something you're going to do, when you can be in stillness for a moment, perhaps putting your headphones in, or if that's not possible, acknowledging distractions for what they are and enjoying this practice. All right, head on over there. Well, it's coming right up. I'll guide you through the whole thing, Flirty. Welcome, Flirty, to this body scan meditation for releasing fear and building confidence, resilience. I invite you to begin this practice today in any shape that feels comfortable to you, a shape where you feel relaxed and supported, and your spine can be straight. So maybe this is lying down on a couch, a bed, a soft surface, maybe seated in a chair with some cushions, some pillows behind you. Just taking some time to settle in, feel supported, gently blinking the eyes closed if that feels okay in your body. Taking some time to relax through the jaw and shoulders here, feeling grounded in this moment, giving in to this experience, letting go of any expectations or doubts, any stories, and just being open to experience this for exactly what it is and what it will be. I'll be here to hold the space and guide you through it all. So as you are settling in, we'll open with a box breathing practice, something I like to do in my yoga classes from time to time. I'll guide you through it now. Taking a deep inhale through the nose to the count of 4, 2, 3, 4. Holding lungs full. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. 2, 3, 4. Holding empty lungs now. 2, 3, 4. Begin again. Inhale through the nose. 2, 3, 4. Hold full lungs. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the mouth. 2, 3, 4. And hold empty lungs. 2, 3, 4. Begin again. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4. Exhale through the nose this time. 2, 3, 4. Hold empty breath. 2, 3, 4. Begin again. Inhaling. Holding. Exhale through the nose. And resting here empty for a moment. And keep going through this now at your own pace. The idea here being to really bring expansion to your breath cycle, to provide a pattern, some consistency. Oftentimes when we're experiencing fear or self-doubt or some of those emotions like anger, shame, guilt, we tend to, and I know this is how I've been, gravitate towards a shallow breath. We're not taking those really deep, full breaths. We focus on the short sips of air, these really short inhales, and don't allow ourselves to fully exhale. And this type of breathing can bring instability to the nervous system. So right away here, focusing on grounding, on bringing some stability and calm to the nervous system. Perhaps starting to feel more relaxed, more grounded into this moment, into this practice. Whatever shape you've taken, sitting up or lying down, feeling the parts of your body resting onto your supports, onto your chair, your bed, allowing yourself to be and feel fully supported here in this moment. Keep breathing. You can relax into a more natural breath pattern here if you haven't already, letting go of your counts, or maybe you love it. You want to keep with your box breath. I invite you to do just that. Just keep breathing deep inhales and exhales through the nose, allowing your breath cycles to be full and long, soothing your nervous system. And now we'll begin the body scan. I want you to imagine now with your next inhale, filling your lungs, your being with this luminous white light, a glow. Maybe it takes on a different color. It's got some vibrancy. Imagine it. Maybe it's got some sparkles, some glitter to it. Sometimes my light does. Just keep breathing. That's all you need to do. If your mind starts to wander, I'm sure it has. That's human nature. With each exhale, allow those thoughts to dissolve. And with each inhale, you simply begin again. Now, as you're envisioning this white light, this luminant, radiant, warm presence beginning to surround you, beginning to work its way into your breath, send your awareness now to the crown of your head, the top of your head. The eyes have been flittering and flicking, bringing stillness there, relaxing through the brow, the forehead. Unclenching the jaw. Tongue falls away from the roof of the mouth. Allowing this light to take with it stress, tension, worry, fear. You can give it to this light. It will always be there for you. Now we begin to work our way down, focusing on the throat and neck. If you found sometimes when you're feeling fear that the words get caught in your throat, you have a hard time communicating. Just finding what you want to say, expressing yourself. Imagine this light bringing some support here to your voice, taking with it tightness, tension, relaxing through the neck, keep breathing. And on your next inhale, moving our way down the body now to the shoulders. If you're seated, maybe they've been up by your ears a little bit, squeezing. See if you can fully release, relax them. If you're laying down, fully allow your shoulders to ground down, pressing into your support wherever you may be in the world. Fully giving yourself to this moment and to this practice. Keep breathing here. If you're noticing sensations come up, all good. We acknowledge them. without criticism, without judgment, without rejecting ourselves, feeling like this experience should be one way or another. Instead, we accept it for exactly what it is. Continue to breathe and now allow this light, this feeling of warmth and relaxation to flow down your arms, through your elbows, your wrists, all the way to the tips of your fingers. The hands have been clenched, allowing them to fully relax, opening up. Feel your arms become warm and even heavy here, releasing tension, fear with each exhale, sending it on its way, and then beginning again with each inhale. Now bringing your awareness to your chest and your heart center. This is where we often feel fear most acutely, flirties. Breathe into this space, allowing your chest to rise and fall with each breath. As you inhale, imagine breathing in peace and calm. And as you exhale, releasing any fear, anxiety stored here in your heart center, around your heart center. Remind you again that you are safe here and it is okay to let go. Now shifting your focus to your stomach and abdomen. Fear and stress can often be held here for sure, manifesting as tightness, discomfort, just some not so pleasant feelings, sensations, symptoms. But with each breath, fully allowing the abdomen, the diaphragm, the belly to expand. And with each exhale, bringing some softness into this part of your body. Be here for another moment or two. If you've ever felt the tightness, the tension here, the nerves, the butterflies, I'm sure you have. Allow yourself to cultivate a feeling of peace and ease, knowing that you can call this feeling back to you, this energy back to you whenever you need. The body can and will remember all the good things. Continue to breathe as we now shift our focus and attention to the hips. And just notice how they connect your upper body to your legs. Hips are center of creativity, of emotions in many ways. The center here around the sacral chakra, often connected to fear as it relates to change. So if you felt fear when it comes to making a change, feeling indecisive about something, that fear may be isolated here in the hips. Just breathe space. Breathe that light. Taking it in. Now feeling a little bit lighter, perhaps more relaxed here through the hips. Send the sensation down to your thighs, your knees and calves. letting your legs really become heavy, sinking into the surface beneath you, or if you're seated, really grounding down through the feet, feeling fully supported here, imagining any remaining fear, anxiety dissolving through your feet, leaving your body, and giving this to the earth. Give it to me. I'll take it. I got it for you. I'll transform it for you. And we've got one more part of the body to get to, and that is the feet. I want you to allow your feet to completely relax, unclenching the toes here, perhaps if you're lying down, allowing the ankles to rotate out. You don't need to hold on to anything here. You can fully give in and let go, imagining any last traces of fear flowing out through your feet, where it can be transformed into something positive, anything. I love the phrase here, energy can neither be created nor destroyed, but it can be transformed. It can be transformed. Something that's always given me solace in moments of self-doubt, fear, anxiety. Seeing if I can bring some calm to my nervous system, to my being, releasing some energy, allowing the earth, the atmosphere, the universe to do its thing. And then I get to call it back, this transformed energy. Powerful practice. All right, we've got a few moments here now in a full state of relaxation and stillness. We have scanned the whole body. A moment here to revisit any parts of your being where you think there may be some lingering stress, tension, tightness, discomfort. All good? Send your breath there. Send this light there. Trust the process. Keep breathing. I'll continue to hold this space for you. Just notice how you're feeling in this state of relaxation, any changes that you've felt throughout this practice, feeling your whole body now as one, your breath moving perhaps a little more easily in and out, your inhales and exhales flowing, your body feeling lighter, calmer, more grounded. Should there be any more spaces, places, fear or tension, again, we simply acknowledge it and allow it to pass with each breath. We can let it go without attachment, without story. We can simply release and trust ourselves that our body knows. Our body can handle it. And now we'll begin to bring our awareness back to the physical space around us, wiggling the fingers and toes, maybe the hands, the wrists, some ankle circles perhaps. You can nod the head gently to the left and right, some subtle movement through the neck. And when you are ready, taking in one more deep breath, maybe your deepest of this practice, another sip of air at the top, getting really full, and exhale through the mouth, slowly emptying the lungs. And on this next inhale, blinking the eyes open if you are ready, reconnecting back to the space around you. This is where I will leave you. If you would like to stay here in this space for a little bit longer, you are certainly welcome to do so. If you're ready to get on about your day, your evening, your morning, wherever you may be in the world, I thank you so much for showing up for yourself, for doing this practice, for showing up for one another, to practice in this community of yoga, as there are flirties all over the world doing this, I'm sure. At least one right now. And thank you for allowing me to guide you through this practice. It's been an honor and a pleasure to spend this time with you. All right, flirty. Namaste. Flirty, that is this episode of Flirtations, all about fear. As well, yeah, if you're dating and certainly just living life, you're a person, there's going to be some fear creeping into your life for sure. But as it pertains to dating, you're not always going to have the answers to everything. There's an element of uncertainty to dating. Everything is not black and white, and we have got to become accustomed a lot of the time to dating in the gray. This doesn't mean we lack boundaries, we lack standards, we're not communicating, right? All of those things, all of those practices and strategies are, of course, I hope, going to be a part of the dating process so you can date with more clarity and confidence, all the while knowing we can't control anyone else, but we can control, at least most of the time, to the best of our ability, how we feel, how we show up, and we get to have autonomy over our own experiences. And that includes moving through, working with, and stepping over, well, not exactly over, moving through to get beyond the fear that's probably going to come up. So I hope this episode of Flirtations was helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, please consider leaving a rating, a review. You can do so on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple, thumbs up on YouTube. Would love if you did so. Would love any feedback if you got it. You can connect with me over on Flirtstagram, Flirt Talk, that's Instagram and TikTok. Of course, this is the Flirtations Flirtcast. We can work together one-on-one. All of that is linked in the show notes. If you're local in the Triangle area of North Carolina, please come practice yoga with me. We'll do some in-person meditation, some breathing, some movement. And with that, I'm going to leave you here and catch up with you very, very soon. All right, flirty. Happy flirting.